This is a demonstration of cognitive therapy and ACT. Cognitive therapy will be demonstrated by Bob Leahy. What about Bob? Okay. Bob is the president of the ABCT. He has a PhD from Yale. He has been active in cognitive therapy, trained by Tim Beck.
The mic is on.
What's my? Okay, all right. So Bob will do the demonstration of cognitive therapy, and he's been an active researcher, editor of journals, contributor to the literature, and we're really happy to have him step in here and do this demonstration. Steve Hayes will be the ACT therapist, and there he is. Steve Hayes was the student representative to the APA Division 25 of Applied Behavioral Analysis, and for those students here, get involved in the organization, and you too could somehow become a president and a researcher, and so let that be sort of a lesson to you that it pays to become involved early in this organization. One of the things we're going to do differently today is we're going to have a real actress play the role of the client, and that's Zenobia. You may recognize her face. She's been in some movies. She has a movie independent film coming out, and she's going to be the client. So please try to be quiet so that the filming and the recording comes out well, and we'll get started. Thank you.
Okay. Steve, nice to see you. So this is going to be a role play that I'm going to do, trying to demonstrate some cognitive therapy techniques. And the patient is, Christina, who's a 44-year-old woman who's just gone through a breakup in a relationship and is feeling somewhat depressed and self-critical, isolating herself a bit, not as active, feeling discouraged about the future, and so forth. She works at a hedge fund in New York and has done fairly well at work, but is also feeling less confident and feeling like a fraud. I'm not sure if you have that background information available, but that's who's coming in. So I'm going to play the role of the cognitive therapist. I'll take my watch off so I can be mindful of the time. And then at the end of the role play, we'll have a chance for maybe a couple of questions, and then Steve Hayes will do a demonstration of the same patient, demonstrating the ACT. So it'll be an interesting collection of techniques that you'll learn today. So I'm going to be the therapist, and you're going to be the patient. So tell me, Christina, what's going on right now in your life that's making you feel bad?
Well, I broke up with my boyfriend. I've been together with him for 5 years. I don't know if is this mic on?
Yeah, that's better.
I broke up with my boyfriend, and we've been together for like 5 years.
So that's a long relationship to go through. And what kind of feelings are you having at this point?
I just feel like really hopeless and worthless. I just don't feel like getting out of bed.
Right. So this relationship after 5 years, and it's kind of natural, I guess, that anybody would feel pretty sad, don't you think? Kind of losing something that was that meaningful. And you're feeling hopeless, you're feeling worthless, and what kind of other feelings are you having? Any other feelings?
I'm just tired all the time.
Tired. Okay.
I want to get out of bed, and I just feel very self-critical of everything, and
Right.
think I screwed up.
So this is a pretty hard time for you. And how long has this been going on, this kind of feeling really down and hopeless and self-critical?
Oh, we broke up like 2 months ago.
Okay. And you were with him for 5 years, you said. What was his name? Probably still has the same name, but what
Yeah, Steven.
Stephen. Okay. So you were with Stephen for 5 years, and it sounded like this relationship mattered a lot to you.
Yeah, because I thought that we were going to be married.
So that's pretty discouraging, 5 years in a relationship, and you don't end up getting married. Do you have any thoughts and feelings towards Steven?
I mean, I realized that he was just stringing me along now. I mean, keeping on saying that we would be married, but it wasn't supposed to be. He didn't intend to.
So what kind of feeling do you have? Do you feel angry about that?
Yeah.
So
I
you
feel
feel,
like he jerked me around for 5 years.
right, that sounds like a pretty natural feeling, I think, that a lot of people would have. Don't you think, going through 5 years and being strung along and, angry about that? So I'm hearing a lot of different emotions that you're having. You're feeling, you're feeling hopeless, you're feeling sad, you're feeling discouraged, and you're feeling angry, all of those feelings. And
Yeah.
let me ask you, if I describe somebody else going through, a breakup after 5 years, a relationship that mattered, that they were thinking about getting married, do you think that they might have a lot of these same feelings?
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're kind of feeling a lot of things that other people would feel. And but I think one of the things I want to do today is kind of look at how we can get you, recognizing that you have these feelings, which are legitimate feelings that probably most people would have, to see how we can help you move to a better place where you might feel better and feel a little bit more encouraged about the future. But that might not change today. So we'll talk about things, and your feelings will still be pretty important, and maybe they may not change. Does that seem realistic?
Yeah, I suppose things don't change overnight.
Okay. So in other words, it might take a while to feel better.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm sorry that you're going through this, and what I find, I think a lot of times people get upset about things that matter, and it sounds like this relationship mattered to you quite a bit. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were going to be married, so it says there was a expectancy of the future together.
Right. Right. So, and you expected to get married, you said. Right. Right. Now, before you met Steven, what were you feeling in your life at that point? This was back in your 30s, I guess, right?
Yeah.
What was going on in your life then?
It was pretty good. I mean, I had a good job. I still have a pretty good job. And I was dating, and I dated my high school sweetheart again for like 10 years.
So, right.
It was pretty good. I mean, I wasn't like this depressed or
Right, right. So that's interesting. I guess my thought about, relationships that matter, when people go through breakups, they kind of feel bad because, you're losing something that is important to you. And then, your depression kicks in, and then it affects the way you think, and that affects the way you feel, that affects the way you think, and that affects what you do. But what I'm hearing, though, is that you have long periods of time when you're feeling pretty good before Steven, and actually with Steven. So if we looked in the last 10 or 15 years, what percentage of the time have you been feeling as depressed as you do now?
I had one episode during college.
So that was 24 years ago or so.
Yeah.
So over the last 24 years, you've had this 2-month period of depression.
Yeah, before that, it was okay, but then
Right.
when I was in college, I had a pretty bad episode.
And how long did that episode last?
A while. I stuck, I didn't really socialize, and I sort of stayed in my dorm, and then I guess I went home for the summer. It took, I would say, about a 6-month period. It sort of went away.
So during that time when you got depressed, you sort of isolated yourself and you were less active.
Most definitely.
Okay. Are you doing some of that now, kind of more isolated and less active?
Yeah.
Okay. And you think that may be, even though the depression may have been kicked off by, kind of the loss of the relationship, that now you're kind of, perhaps by being isolated and less active, that maintains your depression. Is that possible, you think?
It doesn't help it.
Not helping it, okay. So we should look at what's behind the isolation and the self-criticism and the hopelessness. Those are three things I'm hearing you talk about here. Let's take the hopelessness, because, when you think that things aren't going to work out, you think, why bother trying, right? That's kind of a natural response to thinking that things won't work out. Why waste the time? But if things were so hopeless, it sounds like over the last, 26 years or so, you've had 2 episodes of depression, which means that for 25 years, 5 months or 4 months, you haven't been depressed. So you have the thoughts that things are going to be hopeless, and then we look at your life and we see that about 95% of that time you're feeling pretty good.
That's encouraging.
Okay, but it's encouraging, but that doesn't necessarily mean that things will get better. It's just simply that we know that you're capable of being better.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so we have the thought that things are hopeless. Let me ask you, when you think that things are hopeless, that's sort of like this, this vague, kind of amorphous cloud. Can you tell me specifically what you're hopeless about?
Well, when you think you're going to spend your life with somebody and then that doesn't pan out,
Okay.
there's a whole, your entire future kind of deconstructs.
Wow, we're into deconstruction. Wow, pretty intellectual. Okay, that's pretty hopeless. Hard for me to understand deconstruction. I have to go back to college. What I'm hearing though is that your response was that everything is hopeless. Like if I said, what I'd like you to do today is solve the problem to everything. That'd be a pretty hard thing to do. But let's say if I said to you, could you go down to the drugstore and get me a tube of toothpaste? Not that I need it, but would you be able to do that?
Yeah, I'm functional. It's not that I'm not functional, but...
Okay. So, but if we took this, because I think when we're depressed, and we all get down, but when we get depressed, we tend to think of things in a very vague and global way. Like life is hopeless, or I'm hopeless, that kind of thing. And what I find in my experience has been helpful is if we can specify behaviors or experiences or feelings that you can aim for. So for example, you say that life would be hopeless, and you're not going to be with Steven. So, okay, that may be hopeless, that you won't be with Steven. But does that mean you will never be with anybody else?
I'm 44.
Okay, that sounds young to me. But that sounds old to you, right?
Yeah, it feels like it's kind of passed me by.
Did it feel old? Did it feel old 6 months ago?
No.
Did you suddenly become old?
Yeah.
No. It's kind of like a quantum leap, right? But that may be part of the depressive way of thinking about it. Let's imagine I wave the magic wand over your head. And I don't have, this is a pen, it's not a magic wand. I don't do magic, but let's imagine I had a magic wand. And I waved it over your head. And you had the same experiences you have now. Like maybe you have a friend who's 44, goes through a breakup or a divorce or whatever. And she's feeling down. She's feeling, I'm 44, I'm too old, you would want me. Tell me what advice you would give her.
Yeah, I would say it's not too late. I'd be more optimistic for her than I'm for me.
Why? Why would you be more optimistic for her than you? And by the way, you weren't old 6 months ago.
don't know, I just, I'm very self-critical and just feel.
Right. Right now you're self-critical, but 6 months ago you were feeling pretty good, you said, right?
Yeah, it's come back more that I don't fit in and I'm different and it's not, it's not just not going to work out for
Right.
me.
Right. Right, okay, and so, probably anybody who had those thoughts and didn't believe them would feel pretty down, but this idea that I'm too old, you said 6 months ago you didn't think that, so the idea I'm too old is pretty much tied to Stephen and not being with Stephen. You said that with a friend, you would give her advice and say, come on, you have, a lot to offer. Let me ask you that, kind of like, I think it's hard to find the right person for anybody, no matter what age, don't you think? It's
Yeah.
not like it just happens like that.
Yeah.
So I can understand that you might feel discouraged because you thought you had the right person. And that says something about your capacity to love and to be form a commitment. You had a 10-year commitment, you had a 5-year commitment. I mean, there are people who are 44 who've never had a commitment. But it hurts to have a commitment, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
hurts to love. Let me ask you, Christina, if I could, I'm going to write down, well, why don't you write it down, too? Can I ask you to write it down?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. There's some paper over here that we were generous enough to provide you with. Goodness of our hearts. Let's write down what you're looking for in a partner. Okay? Maybe 5 or 6 things. You tell me what they are. What are you looking for?
It's kind of hard. It's like I've not thought of that since.
Okay. Well, let's go on a shopping spree, and you're going to look for your partner. What are you looking for? What do you want in somebody? What do you think somebody to be a partner?
At this point, I want somebody who keeps their word.
All right, somebody who, let's write that down. Can you write that down?
Oh, yeah.
Keeps their word. All right. Yeah, someone with integrity. Excellent. What else are you looking for?
Somebody who's like, be straight with me, tell me, and be honest. Don't say one thing and.
Okay. Let's write that down. Honest.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Because I believed that it would happen, so I
Good.
really need that.
You're able to trust.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking for someone who's honest, someone who keeps their word. What else are you looking for? They have enough personality, maybe? Are we asking too much? What do you want in your personality?
A good sense of humor.
Sense of humor.
Yeah.
Let's write that down. What else are we looking for?
Just a decent guy. Just.
Tell me what that means.
Doesn't
What does a decent guy do?
lie or cheat or.
And we know the honesty is right there at the top. Okay? Look in terms of their personality, things like maybe intelligence or interests or things like that.
Yes, intelligent would be good.
Okay, let's write that down. That's good. That would be a nice thing. Get one of those.
And also, like, I can be a little self-critical, and I can be down on myself.
Sure.
So somebody to kind of maybe balance that out a bit.
Can we say supportive?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
let's write that down. Excellent. Okay, we got a shopping list here. I'm going to put a circle around this one. Sounds pretty good. Let me ask you this about yourself, Christina. If you were to give yourself a grade from A to F, let's take the first one, right here.
Oh,
You keep your word? Would you give yourself?
Yeah,
What
I
would you
do.
give yourself on
an A.
that? A?
Yeah.
All right. How about honest? What do you give yourself on honest?
Yeah, I'm pretty honest.
What grade?
I don't want to say A because it
Oh, we
makes
would
me
put down
sad.
modest? All right. What are you going to give yourself on honest, though, not modest?
I'm honest, yes.
A, B, C, D,
A,
F.
A.
A. Humor.
I can lose that. I can get down.
You can get down?
Yeah, I can forget
You
about
seem
it.
laughing a little bit with me, and
Yeah.
that takes a lot of courage. What would you give yourself in humor? A, B, C, D, or
Right now, I'd give myself a D.
Okay, and
Right
when you're,
now.
and when you're, let's put a D with a circle. Can you put D with a circle? And then when you're not feeling depressed, what do you give yourself with humor?
B minus.
Okay, B minus. So there's room to grow.
Yes.
Okay. How about intelligence? When
Yeah,
you
I'm
feel-
intelligent.
A, B, C, D, or F. So you responded pretty quickly on that. You're quick on the draw, too.
You
Intelligence.
decide.
No, I'm not, I'm just getting to know you here. So what do you think your friends would say about you in terms of intelligence? What would they do?
I don't have too many friends right now. So.
Well, your friends, before you got depressed and isolated yourself, what would they give you?
Maybe A minus.
Okay, can you put A minus down? And how about supportive? How do you think people would rate you in terms of being supportive when you're feeling good?
Yeah, when I'm feeling good, I'm supportive. Right now, I don't feel
Okay.
like I'm being very supportive.
No, I understand. Right now you're depressed, and that's what you're working on, trying to get a different way of looking at it. In terms of supportive, how would your friends have rated you when you were feeling less depressed as 3 months ago?
B plus.
Okay, can you write down B plus? All right, so, yeah, you said you had nothing to offer. If I said to you, I said, Christina, guess what? I got a guy over here who, that's similar to you. A, in keeping the word, honest, A. Humor, B minus, although we're working on that. Intelligence, A minus. Supportive, B plus. Would you want to, go out with someone?
Yeah, he sounds pretty good.
I don't mean to say you're conceited, but it looks like you're looking for someone like you. You would be satisfied with somebody who had your qualities, right? Does that sound right?
I guess I'd be satisfied with somebody who had these qualities.
That's you. You'd be satisfied finding somebody similar to you. Now, if that's true, and I know you don't feel that you have these qualities
Yeah, right now,
right
I
at this
feel
moment,
like
but
this-
for the last 95% of your last 27 years, you've had those qualities because you've been feeling pretty good. So, right, if we think about your depression as temporary, somewhat related to the breakup because things matter to you, because you're someone who has love and commitment and connection and attachment, which do hurt when those things end. But you're saying that you have the qualities that you're looking for in a man. You're looking for somebody to love who's similar to you. And I'm wondering, when you said you had nothing to offer, do you see like a little conflict there in like the depressed way? I have nothing to offer, but I'm actually looking for someone who's exactly like me. Is this maybe the way you're thinking right now, even though it feels so true and hurts so much, it may not be as consistent with the facts as you described them. It's just something to think about that, when we get depressed, and we have this sort of like negative filter, we think that, we have nothing to offer, we're boring, we're not intelligent, so nothing we do works out, we kind of, this is the nature of depression. And I guess my thought is that, I would wonder what would be wrong with you if you had to break up after 5 years and you felt good about it right now. I would say, well, that's kind of a superficial person. So maybe your heart is hurt because things matter to you. And then, but it kicks in with these thoughts about yourself and about the future. Does this make sense to you?
Yes, it's helpful. Yeah.
I mean, it may not change the way you feel today because you're hurting today. But it's just sort of like thinking, well, maybe there's something I could I could look at this in a different way, like, maybe I'm having like a string of these negative thoughts, and I just believe them as if they're absolutely true. Like if I said to you, it's snowing outside, how would we check out whether it's true?
We look at it.
We look at the facts, right? You wouldn't just simply believe me, because I'm not a very believable person. But, we would check out the facts.
Yeah.
But sometimes we just believe something so strongly we don't even bother checking out the facts. So I just want you to, I don't know, I guess, be a little bit curious about your thoughts, like, okay, I have a thought that I have nothing to offer, or I'll never be happy again. Okay, those are the thoughts. Those are what we call automatic thoughts because they happen spontaneously and they just seem true. And your heart is broken right now, so your thoughts may be pretty negative right now.
Yeah. So you're saying that to see it in the see it in the context that it is, and not as a whole, something like
Yeah, something like that. And yeah, I think the context is important. Absolutely. A lot of things are important, including humor. But yeah, seeing in the context of the facts and who you are, I mean, if you met somebody who was capable of having a 10-year relationship and capable of having a 5-year relationship, and also a lot of the friends that we described in the intake earlier on, and somebody who's had a lot of success working in a hedge fund, and I know it's been a difficult couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not
But-
helping.
Yeah, sure. But if you were to think about somebody who's capable of a 10-year relationship, capable of a 5-year relationship, and who's looking for somebody who has the qualities that she has.
It sounds very conceited.
Well, you're very modest to think that, but, I'd rather have you think, gee, I'm sounding conceited, than just being self-critical. But maybe it's just simply you're being realistic. Let's talk about the isolation that you're going through, and you described that earlier. And you did that, I think, back when you were in college, right? That 6-month period.
Yeah.
Would you like some water?
Yeah.
Give me some. I guess I can take a seat. Yeah. And you said you're not intelligent? I was going to pour it like this. All right. There you go. You're welcome. You said in the past that you isolated yourself and got depressed in college, and currently you're not seeing your friends as much. All right? What makes you isolate yourself? Why are you not seeing your friends now?
I don't feel motivated to call anyone or do anything. I just want to go home and
Right.
lie down.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing. It's like the motivation, right? I have an office here in New York, in 57th Street. And imagine if I were waiting outside, pacing back and forth, and somebody comes up to me and says, Bob, why are you pacing back and forth? And I said, I'm waiting for my motivation to show up so I can go up to my office. But it makes sense, though, when you're feeling
You
down.
have a good sense.
I know, well, you're being supportive because we're laughing at it, but, and I appreciate that. Believe me, I need all the help I can get.
So do I.
So, okay, at least we're having a good time, right? But if I said I'm waiting for the motivation, to go up to my office, I'm might wait forever. But let's imagine you're trying to think about, how will I feel once I see my friends? Have you seen any of your friends in the past couple of months? At dinner or lunch or spent any time at all?
Not really, no.
Who's your best friend? What's her first name?
Susan, we had some fights, and I don't really see her, so I don't really see anybody right now.
Okay. But when you've seen some of your other friends before you got depressed, what was that like?
It was good, yeah, it was good.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think that sometimes I just feel like I'm different.
You mean that you have all these good qualities and other people don't?
No, that
What made you different, you think?
I feel like I'm not married or with children, or I feel different from them.
Do you have any
other
friends,
than-
sorry to interrupt you, but do you have any friends who are not married?
Yeah, a few, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
What do you think about those people?
It's fine, but, yeah.
So it's okay if your other friends are not married, but not okay if you're not married? Yeah, no. Yeah, which happens when we get depressed, by the way. You're not alone with that. We have kind of a double standard, that it's okay for my friends not to be married, but not okay for me not to be married. But, yeah. Let me go back, though, to the idea of not seeing your friends. One of the things that happens when people get depressed is that they isolate themselves, and they then begin to ruminate a lot, like all these negative thoughts about your life and yourself.
Right.
You doing that?
Yes.
Okay. So if you isolate yourself, do you think that'll add to the rumination, or?
It does, yeah.
Okay. Are you looking for an answer? Are you looking for, like, what is the truth?
I just don't feel like doing anything but lying there and watching the TV.
Right. And how do you generally feel when you do that, just lie there and watch TV and ruminate? How do you feel usually when you do that?
Depressed.
Okay, so again, this is the nature of depression as far as we can see, is that a lot of people, when they get depressed, most people, they begin to isolate themselves, and then they begin to ruminate, and then they become more depressed, and then they ruminate and isolate themselves more, and it becomes like a vicious cycle. We want to create a virtuous cycle where, we change that. You said at the beginning of the session that you knew that you're not going to change immediately and overnight. But I'm wondering if you might be willing to carry out an experiment for a week and, to maybe get more active. Maybe see some friends or call up some people or, go to a health club like we used to, and, do things. Even though you don't feel motivated, it's like me on the street waiting for the motivation to show up. It's kind of like, acting before you feel different. I know it doesn't feel like spontaneous to do that. But if you did that, let's say every day you did something like that, something active, something, engaging with other people, spending less time ruminating, lying in bed, watching television. If you did that every day for a week, what would you predict would be the outcome after a week, or let's say 2 weeks?
I might start feeling a little like my old self. Maybe.
But maybe, maybe is an important thing, and we don't know. And I think one of the things to keep in mind with everything we talk about, we don't know for sure what the outcome is going to be. So it's always like a little bit of a risk or uncertainty. But I'm asking you to think about, you carried out the experiment of lying in bed and ruminating, and we got the data on that. And I'm just asking you to think about, your prediction, how you would feel if you got more active and you think you feel a little bit better, you're not sure. What would be is there any disadvantage of spending a week or 2 weeks getting more active, maybe keeping track of your mood and how you feel? Any downside to that? Do you think of any real incredible disadvantage?
Stop feeling sorry for myself.
Well, I think you should feel sorry for yourself. You're depressed. Wouldn't you feel sorry for a friend who's depressed? Do you feel bad about feeling sorry for yourself? Maybe you could love yourself. Have you tried that?
That's always been hard.
That's been a hard thing to do. Would that be something that we might want to work out together? Maybe how to love yourself and how to be compassionate toward yourself. We talk about, cognitive therapy, or the compassionate mind. Being compassionate toward other people, toward the universe, toward ourselves. Are you compassionate toward other people?
More than I am toward myself.
Yeah. What do you think would happen if you became compassionate toward yourself? So that might be something you might want to work on.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're out of time here, but I think you kind of wrap up some of the things we talked about. You're going through a breakup, so you're going through a grief process, and we talked about you're feeling hopeless about the future because you think you have nothing to offer. And then we looked at what you're looking for in a partner, and you rate probably A or B plus in all those categories.
I'm embarrassed by that part of it.
And we also established that you're modest, and that you've had success in your work. But for the last 27 years, you've had a 6-month depression and a 2-month depression, so about 95% of the time, you've been feeling pretty good. We talked about lying in bed ruminating, as opposed to getting out and being more active, and sort of test out your thought that if I get out and I interact more with people, will I feel better or worse? So we'll take your prediction and test it out. How do you feel about what we talked about here today?
I feel you've given me a lot of, made me feel better about myself than I have in a long time. So that I really appreciate that.
Okay. So let's meet next week. Try to do some more of the activities. Write down how you feel every day when you're out doing things and how you feel when you're at home ruminating. Think about these sort of negative thoughts, and I'll give you something to read about depression and cognitive therapy. And let's meet next week. And I'm not expecting that you're going to feel incredibly better. I'm just kind of trying to open up your mind to thinking about things in a different way. And maybe we could work on this compassion toward yourself, this loving kindness that you could have toward yourself, that you have toward other people. Because it sounds like you're much more difficult on yourself than you are with other people. You kind of what we call a double standard, but it sounds like that's something that even if you weren't depressed, we ought to be working on that. But it's also pretty natural you're feeling down because things matter to you, and you care, and you're capable of long-term relationships, and you're not a shallow person. So your heart is broken for right now. Okay, thank you. We have time for a couple of questions. Who has questions? And who has an answer? Come on, there got to be questions. Any questions? Or comments? Yes?
Very, very informative, and it was very good. I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on sort of there was something that you said right at the end of the session that reflected the responsibility of the session back to you having made her feel better about yourself. What are your thoughts on an ideal response to that?
Right. that the patient said that I made her feel better. The patient said that I had made her feel better toward the end, okay? And so what is the question about that?
What would you say would be, there are various ways to respond to that?
Okay, so, well, one would be to have more time. It would be a good thing to be able to respond to that. And thanks for asking the question. That what we want to work on is having her, use the techniques as new habits, like, writing down her negative thoughts and, rating the belief in them and setting up predictions. Like I wanted her to give predictions about how she would feel if she engaged in more activation and less rumination. Having her use techniques like the double standard technique, what advice I would give a friend, the cost benefit of a thought, the evidence for and against the thought. There are many, many techniques. The first session here is really kind of connecting with her, in a way that I hope is empathic, but at the same time helps her understand that her thoughts are just interpretations, and they may or may not prove to be correct. And I'm also trying to illustrate a tentative thing about feeling, that even though we're doing some stuff here, you may not feel any better. It's just simply we're trying different things. And we're trying to increase her sense of doubt about her negative beliefs. Also validating that her suffering comes from a good place, that things matter to her, that she's a loving person, she's capable of commitment and depth. And so it's kind of like an ironic thing in a way. It's kind of like, well, of course you feel bad because you're the kind of person that things matter to. And so it's kind of like, I don't have to feel bad about feeling bad, but she can feel pretty good about being unhappy about something that matters to her. How did you feel? I mean, you...
I found it very helpful.
Yeah. I know it was nice when you talked. Yeah, when we did the role play, if you were the patient.
Yeah, I found it enormously constructive. Like there were a couple of exercises, like this exercise or the other exercise that was suggested of doing something every day, and also obviously an inner joke of the context that I missed, but
That's a different context.
trying to stay in character, so I didn't know that, but I found that helpful for that, because we tend to do that. We tend to make it the whole of our lives, and it's just this one particular thing. I found that very helpful.
No, just this one more question because then we have to break.
I have a different question, sort of differently. If
Yeah.
she had come to you on antidepressants, do you know if there's an effect in terms of cognitively how things get processed if one is on medication?
If somebody comes on antidepressants, is what?
Is the motivation, I mean, you need to feel a certain amount of pain to maintain a motivation to change. My point is, are there some antidepressants that interfere?
No, I mean, there's no evidence that antidepressants interfere with cognitive therapy. That the combination of cognitive therapy and antidepressants compared to cognitive therapy alone is either equal or better. So there's no evidence that that medication interferes with doing effective cognitive therapy. And by the way, just to add as a prelude to Steve Hayes' demonstration, that I think one of the things that I always think about is it's like the STAR-D study that was done looking at if we add this medication or change this class of medication, whatever, the more things you're willing to add and change and do. And I use acceptance and commitment and mindfulness and CBT and all these other things, which I think is actually in some ways being a flexible, cognitive therapist or just a flexible therapist. Just use whatever you can. And medication is one thing that I think patients should avail themselves of if it's indicated. But anyway, we're out of time. Thank you.
Take a break.
No, thank you.
Let's set a context for how we might
proceed on this since we've all heard a lot. And I don't think we can wind the clock back. So what the context that I would like to set is that you're a real client, and we've got 45 minutes. And I don't know where we are in therapy now, so I'm not going to go back and try to pretend it's the first session. I'm going to say, you're here, we've got 45 minutes, let's see what we can do. And we've all heard what we've all heard. Is that all right? Please take a minute just to get centered here. You and I. The first bit about the struggle you're in, the pain that you're experiencing. I just want to take a minute just to get centered here, because if we kind of get 45 minutes, if we just sort of do what we always do, we got what we always got. So kind of it's kind of like there's you and me in here, but there's also our histories, our minds are going. And so I just ask you to try to literally get centered here in your chair. Notice that you're in this moment in your life, coming to me for some help. Yeah, but not just that, and that'd be good. But also, it would be all right for us to take the time to look at what's actually going on here, at what's going on within you. Because there's a sense of which that when this pain had shown up from the betrayal, really, it sounds like a betrayal, and with the others to you. Yeah. That, when that showed up, it almost overwhelmed you. Is that fair to say that? That's right.
Yeah.
You describe it as if you so not yourself in a way.
Yeah.
But what if in that whole process there's something that's really important? Like something that we can learn that will make a difference. And if that's true, we're going to have to kind of slow down and watch. Because part of your mind's going to want to push away from the pain of it. So tell me more about what has happened just inside this relationship and the rejection and betrayal. Like, so you're in there for 5 years. Is this, and at some point in here, this thing is not going very well. Tell me about that part, and sort of how this relationship went.
Well, in the beginning it was fine. I mean, it was new and it was just, normal. And then, I guess in a couple of years, I wanted to know if we were going to move forward or not.
Yeah.
And around that time, I guess there was hesitation, and then all the back and forth started. Yeah.
So you're kind of pushing.
Well, he was saying yes, but nothing was happening. Saying yes, but nothing was happening.
And right in there, in that part of it, what's going on just inside you? Like, what's starting to show up? If we could sort of be inside you and kind of feel what you were feeling, but also hear what you were thinking, what was changing?
Well, I think part of you knows that, what a person is telling you is the truth, but the other part of you wants to believe that it might change. But when a person, they always say when a person tells you who they are, believe them.
Yeah. So you only had almost had two minds going on about it. You
Yeah, I had
wanted to
an
believe what he said
instinct and then-
superficially, but
Yeah, I had the instinct going on as as a woman maybe, and then I have the hopefulness of
Let's go inside the instinct.
investing more
Let's
time.
go inside the instinct. So it's kind of like, uh-oh, here it comes. Right? There's
Yeah,
a sense you have.
There's a voice.
There's a voice, and what's the voice saying?
He's not gonna come through,
He's
you're
not
wasting
gonna
the
come
time.
You're just wasting your time. And behind that voice, what other things show up in your mind? If we could actually sort of be inside you, what is it like to be you in that moment?
I mean, you know you're smart enough to trust that voice, but then there's this other person who's
Yeah, so-
seducing you
so-
into believing something.
So give me an example of what it was actually like. Like, if you're actually in that mode of mind, like you're sitting by yourself and you're in that period of your relationship where the uh-oh, is it okay to call it that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh-oh is
Yeah.
there. Like what kinds of things come up? What kind of experiences? Give me some examples of what it would actually be like. What kind of thoughts?
Cut your losses, this is not gonna happen.
Cut your losses.
Yeah. I mean, it's just,
Okay.
yeah.
What else?
And that he's making excuses, you know an excuse when you see an
Yeah.
excuse.
He's gonna reject it.
Yeah,
Because,
because maybe he doesn't want it to do it with me, or he just didn't want to do
he
it.
doesn't want to do it with you. Why not with you?
Well, that, I don't know, I mean, if you've been honest about that, just, I should have known more.
Okay. What do you think it says about you? What are your thoughts about you?
Well, that's the part that I feel like,
Because it's almost like you didn't go there easily. We just went through 2 or 3. I think you're not going there easily. Like, what does this mean about you? You must have some thoughts.
yeah, I think like what a loser, I stayed
Okay.
for so long,
Okay.
thinking that it, you know, so it adds to my self-criticalness.
Okay. Like what kinds of things would come up that are self-critical?
That I was being a total loser, I knew it was not gonna happen, and I just stayed and, just down on yourself about that alone.
Okay. So it took a little while to
But
get
on the
there.
other hand, you keep investing the time, so
Yeah.
you still wait for it.
And then as this played out, and eventually you walked away, and so, but this side gets bigger and bigger and bigger, yes. But it took a little while to get there to the I'm a loser part. So what are like some of the, let me just ask you this. When you go inside depression, is that your word for where you are right now? Is that
Yeah.
your word for it?
Yeah.
Okay, because you know the shrinks would use that word, right? Okay. When you go inside that, is loser inside that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So this little thing it took a little while to get there, is right inside where you are now. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I'm disappointed in myself a lot.
Okay. So if you could sort of just watch how this normally goes, what do you get pulled to do when I'm a loser? He didn't want me. I'm not good enough. I think we heard earlier, I'm different. When those things show up, like what do you feel pulled to do? But how close are they to you? Like if we could just use a spatial metaphor, how close
Very
is
close.
I'm a loser?
Pretty close.
Like, if we just
Yeah,
use
pretty
this,
narrow.
like close, okay. If we were to just use this book, okay, this is I'm a loser. Like, is it kind of right up on you?
Right now it is in this way.
Yeah, okay. And is this part of what depression is like for you? It's kind of in the rumination. If we just kind of use a physical metaphor for it, it's like right up on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even that, tearing up. Okay.
So what do you feel told to do when it's right up like this?
Okay, just lie there.
Okay.
Just,
Okay.
like more and more self-hate, of just lying there.
Okay. And then, so how does that work? In a sense
It
of-
doesn't.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be, just lie there. I mean, so,
No, but it's just kind of watch it, because your mind's pulling something from you. As if it might, if I just kind of backed up and gave myself a little bit of time or something, maybe I'd be able to come back. And it isn't like you're trying to hurt yourself when you go get in your bed. Your experience is telling you something here. What else do you feel told to do?
be self-critical.
Okay.
And, just generally down on myself.
Okay.
And then physically just kind of lying there and watching TV. So those two things.
Okay. Okay.
How I feel and then how I kind of manifest.
Okay. What do you want to do with this? Like if this were an object, and here it comes. Because this, you visited this space before, you said. This isn't the first time. And even in the times when things are going well, you probably still have some of the.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
okay. Okay. So what do you want to do with this when it starts coming towards you? Like what is your, if we were to put it into a physical form, here it comes.
yeah.
Okay, put your hand up here. Let's see, so what, we want to keep this away.
But then,
Yeah, and then you just kind of collapse in on that. All right.
I mean, it's also like almost become like an old friend to have it.
Oh, interesting. Almost like, so how, old friend, like how old is this? Doesn't it, if you just kind of slow down and come up with like how many was around the time different. Is this an old farm?
Yeah.
How old? Like just go back, how?
At least college.
Okay. And even that, can you find it before that? Can you find it?
Perhaps, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep following back then. Can you find it even as a child? I'm different.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm good. I put those words in your mouth.
Yeah.
Is that kind of, okay. How young can you go, do you think? Finding self-doubt, self-criticism.
Pretty young.
Okay. Like how young?
I think it was always like that my brother was better than I.
Oh, okay. Tell me just a little bit, kind of, how old are you? And how old are you in this memory?
Oh. 7, 8.
Okay. So maybe we could do something a little different, because when this thing gets up here like this, just grab this and put this up physically close, as close as it gets when you're, okay. Now suppose I'm getting a sense that it's like this. I mean, if there's people out here, there's things to do out here, at work, in relationships. This is a kind of a hard space in which to do anything other than depression. Yes,
Yeah.
that's fair to say.
I mean, I've been periods when
Yeah.
my cousins were really good. But I always thought, felt a bit different or something.
Okay, so there's a strand in there. And as I said, maybe there's something in here that has to teach you. Maybe this pain has something to actually learn from. That could be useful to you. Like, if we're actually sort of curious about it and we watch, it isn't just that we have to get it to go, but see like what's inside that. See if we think that's possible. It has a history. Some of these things go all the way back to 7. There's a strand to catch. Okay. So it's worth the time to kind of look And when you're pushing it away, or when you're cleaning it close, also inside that, it sounds like your experience is telling you not much new is likely to happen.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can find something that's new in the sense that we're treated in a different way. Like, could you actually picture what this 7-year-old looked like? Remember the pictures, the kind of goofy hairdo, the shoes? I mean, just take a little time just to picture her, if you got her in your mind. And let's just imagine that she could come here and she could kind of visit us, that she's going to sort of walk right up here and come over. And here she is. And you know who she is. Somehow or another this is safe. She doesn't quite know who you are. But if you just sort of take the time, we got her here, yeah, picture her here. And there's some things inside that are difficult for her. The things that are difficult now are all the way back at this little strand. How do you feel towards this little? Is she a good kid? Is she a? How do you feel towards her? Just take a little time to actually look at her. There she is. But you know that inside she's worried about, is she different? Is she less than her brother? Is she less preferred or less good? Okay. And even your tear in her lips, so there's something in here that's painful that she was feeling. Like, if she were actually here and you magically could talk to her, what would you want to say to her? What would you want to say to that 7-year-old of yourself?
That I am good enough.
Okay. Well, if that's what's there to say,
Mhm.
then actually imagine her there. What else would you want to say to her?
To have compassion for herself.
Okay. Okay. Could you say it in a way that a 7-year-old would get it? Like, how would you say that to her? She's actually here. You only got like just this one little chance to talk to her. What do you want to leave her with? What's the message you want to give her?
That she's as good as anybody else.
Okay. What do you think, if she could have given voice to what she felt she needed, to the giants around her called adults, what do you think she would have wanted to ask for? She knew to do that and could somehow feel safe to do that. I know it's just an imagination, but what do you think she wanted from others, from her?
I guess some validation.
Validation. Okay. Very much like what you feel called to give her here.
Yeah.
She wanted
Yeah.
to know that she's
Good enough.
good enough. Anything else she wants?
You know, that she's as good as her sibling.
Okay. Does she want attention? Wants love? Okay. Well, maybe we could just kind of bring her, since we brought her in, could we just bring her up on your lap and maybe we'll, if you could hug her inside, because she's, she's here with you now. Yeah. I think there's a message in here, what you said to her, that we could hold her as a promise. That she's worthy. She's worth attention. She's loved. She's okay. Yeah. Because could we take that place? Because when you get in there and something really painful happens, and these thoughts comes towards you, and the pain comes towards you, and you're trying to push it away, or you're completely absorbed in it. I'm just wondering what's happening with this little one. Like, is she being held like this, or is she being you lose her?
Yeah, more like chastised.
Yeah. Is that really how we want to be with her? Okay, so maybe we could find a different way to be, even in this pain, with yourself, because she's still here, right? She's actually part of this. Yeah. So let's not add to the pain. The breakup was painful. Let's not add to the pain in this way of sort of buying in, and yet, minds do what minds do. I mean, I'm a loser, I'm different, etc. It goes way, way, way back. Do you even know kind of how it first showed up? If we're going to just kind of, like, have some thoughts about I'm different first showed up. I'm not as good first showed up.
More consciously, maybe in college.
Okay, so it really kind of came out. They're built out. But even but early on, the seeds of that, do you remember? Because you may not. Or you may. Where the seeds were first planted, where the conscience. Okay, so it's something that came out of your history, right? And you probably didn't jump off the womb with it. Right? Minds are pretty easy to program. If I were to ask you to remember something, like, I'm going to give you 3 numbers to remember. And the guys who do the filming here, they're going to give you $10,000 if you can remember it a week. And the numbers are 1, 2, 3. So what are they? Okay. If you think a week from now, I'm going to say, what are they? You can tell me. What about a month from now? A year from now?
Yeah.
If a very old guy, enough you on your deathbed, with a bald head, might even be possible. But yet, the things that you're struggling with here, they go all the way back. You don't even know where they came from. Here we know where, what do we know? Yeah, exactly. Here we know where it came from. We don't even know where that came by an honest thought or something happened. So maybe we can find something else to do with that little bit of history program that sort of comes into the present here. Okay, so let's bring this all the way up into the present. Like now you're into this process of this relationship. Did you actually break it up?
Can I let her go?
Oh, okay. I do hug her right back in because she's actually physically here. So is my little 7-year-old. You can hold her. That would be cool. I think we need Dad to have her in here. We'll do group therapy. Okay, so if we could just come back up now into this more present focus. You had this relationship breakup. Can you tell me just a little bit about the last part? Did you break it off? Interesting. And then we've had this kind of depressive downturn. So what would it be like? Tell me, like, what is it like now? Because we got up to the uh-oh part. We went back and visited Boca. What is it like right now? What is going on right now? And we will keep 7-year-old as a witness. We want to kind of watch what it gets pulled to you, where your mind is pulling you, and see if there's other things.
It's hard right now.
Okay. Like, tell me a little bit about that. What is hardest about where we are?
It's hard to get out of depression.
Okay. You're trying to get out of the depression.
I mean, I would like to really want to.
Sure, sure.
It seems like I'm in it right now.
Yeah, you're in it. And yet, there's part of this that maybe not, maybe it's more a matter of getting into that really is there. So it's, as opposed to, I always think that depression is some of what you feel when you haven't really opened up to what you're feeling and thinking. That there's this kind of turning inward and so forth. So if we can slow this thing down and actually kind of watch what's going on. So there's the thoughts on the loser. What? Let me just ask you this. If you were to step, let's just take the thought on a loser. Here it is, okay? What's on the other side of that, in this one? What would you have to not care about, to not have felt and thought what came up when you ended this relationship? Yeah. You ended this relationship and decided to shut it up. Revisited it. It has a long history. Yeah. I'm wondering, on the other side of this, what does it tell you, or what do you see about what you care about? What do you have to not care about for this breakup not to have occurred in this way? You're in pain now, yeah? What if the pain has something to tell you? So here's the pain and the self-judgment and the chatter. Let's just flip that over.
That I'm human and I made a mistake, something like that.
Well, that's a judgment. But what? Let me ask you this. Like, when you had the uh-oh, what were you going to lose? Like what is at stake here? What do you really want? Come back to this 7-year-old. Here she is. What does she really want?
She wants not be betrayed.
Okay. She wants to be, okay, loved, etc. Yeah. Okay. Those things are threatened and pulled this kind of. So could we do with uh-oh, and I'm a loser, and could we do something with that is more like what she wanted? Could we do something loving with that? Like, okay, can I move my chair a little bit? I'm going to come over here. Come over here. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Is it like, because I have a feeling that I'm kind of losing connection, in part because I think some of these things that you've been struggling with are getting between us. So what I want to do is, could we put them out there? So inside the loss of this relationship is I'm a loser. Let's just put I'm a loser. Okay. Not to get rid of it, but just so we can see it. Don't even quite know where it came from. Oh, yeah. What are the numbers?
1, 2, 3.
If I'm rejected, I'm a... Okay. Cool. Is this your enemy? It's a thought.
Yeah, but it's also like become an old friend,
Yeah. Yeah, there's something when you soothe and you grab onto it, then bite into the mold. I really am a loser. And inside that, what's happening to what this little girl? what are we saying to her? You're not going to be loved. You're not worthy. Yeah. I'm getting it. Does she get a little scared when she sees what you do with this depression?
She's scared and she has more compassion for the adults, me, than I have.
Yeah, interesting. Or maybe.
Children are compassionate somewhere.
So what else? If you were to, what do you get pulled to do in the world of behavior when you sort of go into and kind of almost sink into, like if you could put it into a physical form, I have a sense of, could you actually put it into physical form, what happens when you get into this depressive place? Like what?
Like a wound.
Yeah, like a wound.
Yeah,
Okay.
all covered.
Okay.
She's
Okay, we'll go all inside that. And all inside that is actually buying into this one. And if I'm that little girl, I'm pretty frightened. If we were to sort of come out, like what would you want to be doing in the world of behavior that is maybe getting pulled to do this in the world of behavior? What do you lose? What do you want?
Want to be stronger.
Okay.
Not so. Not so tired and knots about everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you could do that, then what would you be doing? What kinds of things would you want to be doing?
I'm better than job.
Okay.
Well, that's been hard recently, but I'm good at that.
Okay. And what else?
Meeting my friends, just being in the world now.
Okay. Okay.
Currently, I don't feel like I'm in the world really.
So you're getting out there and getting with people and connecting with people. If we were just to use her, since she's sort of here, as in terms of how she feels about these two moves, there's this one, and there's this one where we notice it's there, yeah. But there's also work to be done, and people being more positive, and maybe even love to be had, yeah. Like how do you think we're treating her in these two different ways? Like when we're doing into this, I'm guessing she's feeling pretty small. Almost, yeah. All right. So.
We're doing her a disservice.
Yeah. It's almost like we're slacking. Like if we were to sort of do a service for her, there's these thoughts, I'm a loser, etc. But there's also these things out there, there's places to go, people to connect with. Like what are some of the kinds of things that you're doing? Are there things that you've eliminated from what you're doing that you might want to reach out and begin to do?
Activities, you mean?
Yeah.
Going out, meeting my friends, reconnecting with my family, which I have not done in a
You
while.
let go of your family, of connecting with them.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because right now, I can't deal with that.
And are there things that even right now, like if we just have this 45 minutes, and we've only got about 5 left, and if I was not going to see you again, what could we do in coming out of this that you've been kind of clipping back? I'm not doing that. You know full well this little one that yearns for you to move towards. Like what are some actual concrete things that you might move towards right now with the pain, with the self-chatter?
Not just lying there and watching TV and ordering.
Okay, so we're going to get out.
Yeah.
Maybe bring her with us.
Right. And not, I mean, I don't
do you think as you do that, that this shadow will still show up periodically? Do you think this little girl is going to suddenly stop wondering
I don't
if
think
she's
so.
different? She's probably going to still have those thoughts.
Yeah, she's still there.
When you had her there and she had those thoughts, what you were going to say to her and to do with her is something. Could we, in the next week, actually do some of those behaviors not to make this go away? As if she has to shut up with her worries. And not to sort of win this war, but as an act of kind of self-care. Like you kind of almost made a promise to her when you talked to her. Could we keep that promise? You said earlier, you're trustworthy, you're loyal.
Yeah, I would really like to, because I think she's been let down.
Okay. Yeah. And maybe we don't need to be added to that betrayal from your boyfriend as a letting down. But could we kind of let it carry her and hold her, even her self-doubt? That kind of vulnerability. Could we could hold that in kind of a loving way? And maybe, what? Yes, the longer it is. Maybe a hobby or something, I don't know. What's there?
Yeah, all of that.
Okay.
Family, friends, activities.
Well, I'll pick one or two just to think about it for the next week. Not that you have to do them, but just as a target. What would she most want you to do?
Very calm and parents.
Okay. Okay. I think what's most important about it is not just calling your parents, but doing it in a way that respects that part of you that is vulnerable and that kind of wants to get out there and play. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Is that something that's something we've kind of lost?
Yeah, it's hard.
I don't know. Stop there because the talk is brutal. Thank you for staying with me. Just good. And I get it. I get feel this pull and this chatter, but also that you've got heart